Hi all, another day in the workshop. Today is on the 300 TD5, let's say, how I used to call it, which is basically Discovery 1 300 TDI running gear and a Discovery 2 TD5 body. Now, I built this, as I've said before, about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even a bit longer. And it's a Discovery 2 body mated to a Discovery 1 chassis. A couple of bits needed doing to get it to work, i.e. rear bumper mounts, needed 2-inch lift blocks on the rear mounts, and a couple of other bits and pieces. But I used it for a long time, run around the country. I had a towing business at the time, so I was running cars up and down the country with it. Performed faultlessly. Also did coast to coast off-road event, which is we went from Raven Glass on the west of the country across to Whitby and Robin Hood's Bay. It was, yeah, Robin Hood's Bay, the other side. Green laning most of the way. Again, in standard road form, did absolutely brilliant. I upgraded, I built a Discovery 1 300 in white with a galvanised chassis, and I started using that daily. That was just going to be done and sold, but I actually fed another bit, so I kept it for a while and parked this up. I've had it advertised. I didn't really want to see it stripped apart, but no one wanted it. It got bid on a couple of times, and again the usual eBay no-shows. So unfortunately, even though it's MOT'd, it is going to get stripped. I've stripped out all the interior already. It will live again, more details in the future, but in its current state it won't be. So, as I say, I've pulled all the interior out, dashboard out. Today I'm going to get the body off, remove the engine because that's sold, remove the gearbox and transfer box, and leave a rolling chassis, and then I'll come back to what I'm going to do with it afterwards. So, time to get on. Right, so when you put a Disco 2 body on a Disco 1 chassis, the rear mounts are slightly different. So I've had to use threaded bar and some 2-inch body spacers. And then it bolts up the right height. So I got completely carried away and forgot to film lifting the body off, but there you go, the body's off, the chassis is over there. We've already had the transfer box off. Just letting the gearbox drain, I'm going to get that off. And then obviously the engine. It's being picked up tomorrow. So I need to get it ready tonight before it goes. Before we go home. And then the next stage of the use of this shell chassis. So sorry I didn't film it, but here we are. So that's the chassis out the door. That'll go into storage for a little while until we get on with the next part of the build on that one. And the body is here. Again, that'll come down, go on the trolleys into the back corner for now, until we get back to it for the next part of the build. So for now, that's this finished with. Hello again, back in the workshop. Some of you may remember this Discovery 2 from my green laning video. Bit of a history. Bought this non-runner, well, part runner. Previous owners had replaced the whole fuel system, couldn't get it to run for a long period of time. It would eventually last a few minutes, probably not even 5, a couple of minutes, and then it would run out and die. So the previous owner changed everything, and they'd lost their will to live with it, so sold it nice and cheap. I bought it, changed the injector seals, perfect. So yeah, used it on the green laning trip. That's in another video if you want to have a look at that. And now, unfortunately, it's going to die. Not completely. We're going to pull the body off, sell bits off the body. All I want is the running gear and the chassis for another project. Sacrilege maybe, but if I sold this one running and driving with an MOT, I'd only have to end up buying another one for the project, so might as well save the hassle. It's paid for itself now. I used it for the trip. The price I give for it may mean it, you know, not even as much as a hire car would have been. So I've used it, had my use out of it, so now it's time to strip it. So very similar to the body removal on the Discovery ones, still the same 14 body mounts, steering shaft, electrics, water, loom, etc. So we'll get on with it now. Should be out in a day, should be done and stripped, and then you can see where we go from there. So might be a bit of time lapse while I'm ripping it out, but I won't show you it all, but I'll show you some bits along the way. First thing we're going to do is get it up on the lift, undo all the body mounts, bring it back down, take off everything that we need to in the engine bay and inside, back on the ramp, body off, job done. Right, so under here it's very similar to the Disco one. The only difference really in the way the body mounts is the ones in the boot, for example, are captive. They're done from inside as opposed to under here like on Disco 1. You've got the ones, they're on the outside of the chassis as opposed to the inside like they are on the 300. So they've got to come undone. They're nut and bolt. The body mounts are the same as a D1. And these have had the steps on, so they've got to be undone. Them 4, 3 and 4. The rear body mounts are captive again, so they're done from under here but captive inside, so they're easy. What else we got? The front ones, of course, the front ones. Front ones again are up in the chassis rails like the early chassis, and then we've got the ones in the wheel arch like on the first one, exactly the same. So that's all the body mounts. Obviously we're not going to undo any of the gearbox or engine mounts or anything off this chassis at the minute because it's all staying here, because I just want the rolling chassis. So yeah, so obviously these have got active anti-roll bars, the ACE system and a TD5 engine. But I say, we're leaving all this, it's just literally the body we want to get off at the time being. So we'll get the bumper off so I can get to the mounts, but we'll do the ones under here first, and then once they're all undone it can come down and we'll do the rest of it.
What's going to say to Alex Bird? Come after me, Arthur. Back to the Bricks FM crew, original business back in the day. Out to Michelle, out to the Rendering Ranger, out to Rio.
Another one done. So a bit of an update. It's now post-Christmas. It's in that awkward time between Christmas and New Year. We've got several chassis here, a couple of bodies. Now you remember the grey TD5 that I was using for the off-road trip that I'm stripping? Well, you can see it's stripped. We've got the body here, sorry, the body on the ramp, the chassis there. I had a chap who wanted to buy some panels off the grey one, so I started stripping it. He messaged me and said, actually, I think I might want the whole body. So I've had to get on it ASAP. So obviously it's come off the chassis. I'm stripping all the wiring loom out of it because I need that for another project. Well, actually the wiring loom needs to stay with this chassis because I need it. So that's stripped, so that's what that one is. Obviously the blue body over there is my 300 TD5 as I called it. The Disco 2 body and Disco 1 chassis. Well, that's this chassis that's here. As I said to you in the previous video, I needed to strip it because I sold the engine out of it. So that's there. And then, which you can probably just about see there, let's move you there, is the Cummins chassis. Now, what's happening is the chassis that it's on was just a test bed. Just to see where it sat, put a body on top, see how it all lined up and what we had to do. Well, it's rotten, that chassis. It's not a very nice one. That's why it was just used as a mock-up. So now this one is stripped. The Cummins is going on this chassis. And then this chassis is going under that body. So I'm keeping the whole car, just with a different engine. So obviously because it's the Christmas time period, I'm just waiting on my friend to come and help me because it's a bloody big heavy lump. We need to lift it off there, get the mounts all tapped in on this chassis, and then we're going to operate on that body and get that body lowered down in the chassis, probably with a 2-inch body lift just to give us a bit more clearance. And then once that's all done, it can all come apart and the chassis can go for blasting and galving, and then it can all start going together. So that's where we're at so far. As I say, I'm just stripping the interior wiring loom out of that one. You probably saw in a previous video that I put my Range Rover Classic body on a TD5 chassis. Well, now it fits. We're doing it properly. So the whole wiring loom is coming out of there because it's a soft dash Range Rover Classic. That whole loom can go back in that car. So everything should work as it would in a Disco 2. So we're going to have obviously TD5 Auto, we're going to have air suspension, we're going to have ACE, etc, etc. So should make it a much more modern vehicle with the early shell. So once this is stripped and gone, the Classic will come back in, get lifted off its bare chassis that it's on. It's on a bare TD5 chassis. Then we'll lower this down. Again, double check everything fits, make sure everything goes the right way, and then come off, strip the shell off, strip the chassis, blast, galvanise it. So that's these projects in here at the moment. Just a quick update so you can have a look and see what's going on. Well, that's that stripped. You can see down there the entire loom. Every electrical component has come out. It's fully stripped. More bits over here, aircon pipes, column, electronic pedal, power fold mirrors, ABS, the strengthening and mounting for behind the dashboard, etc. So yeah, it's all stripped out. The only thing we haven't taken is the wiper motor, but we've got those, and we probably have to make the other one fit anyway. So that's that stripped. It can go off to its new owner. He can restore his one with the use of that, and then we can get on with doing what we're going to do with the rest of the parts. So I think we'll end this one here. Hopefully this will be gone next couple of days, just before the new year, and then we can crack on with the next bit. So thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing and you're interested to see how the project progresses, then feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, have a whinge, whatever you lot do. But thanks for subscribing. We've just hit 1,000, so not doing too bad for 6 months. Must be a lot of bored people out there. So anyway, it's the last one of 2020, thank God. So happy new year, and we'll see you all soon in another one.